Hey everyone, what's up? You know, usually, when I talk about something like this, I usually do a video and then I post a video on a topic. And sometimes, like right here, I sometimes write the topic out or drag and naturally speak it. Or if it's just something short and sweet, I just type it up myself with my fingers, as you can see. But the topic up there kind of says it best. It's the same topic title that I used for this written version, and it's right here. And this is actually copied off something that I typed onto the forums, believe it or not. And I'll provide the link down below where you can find these. But basically, the title is One Thing I Will Never Understand About Ian Flynn. Now, basically, the one thing I'll never understand about him is the whole Mobius 25 to 30 years later saga, or situation. We all know that Ken Penders originally started it, and, when Ken Penders ended his original run with it, he ended it with a cliffhanger. So the question is, okay, just checking something. So the question is, why continue it? Why continue it if you feel, if you're the new writer, okay, if you're the new writer, I can understand you want to continue it, you want to put closure to the cliffhanger and all that. But here's what I said here. But if you're, well, this is what I'm about to say. But if you're somebody that doesn't consider it canon, then why continue it even after that, even after putting closure to it? Well, here's what I said, and this is what I said. It's right here, as you can probably see it, hopefully. And I quote, and this is right after the title you see up there. If he, okay, basically I should have put the title, but one thing I don't understand about Ian Flynn, and continuing on, that's the title of it. One thing, like I mentioned at the beginning, I know I'm repeating myself here. One thing I don't understand about Ian Flynn, and then it continues on here in this topic and thing you'll see in the description box, is if he doesn't consider Mobius 25 to 30 years later, canon in some ways, then why did he follow up on it in a Sonic Universe or SU 4-issue arc? I understand resolving a cliffhanger that the previous writer left us on with the main comic. But why continue it if he doesn't see it as canon? In other words, why continuously write about it if you've already resolved it with a cliffhanger? Okay, continuing on, I quote, okay, I understand he may see it like many do as spoiling the obvious outcome in the war with Eggman. But if that is the case, then why continue it? True he can, and I put this in apostrophes, since he is the head writer, apostrophes and bold, as you can see. True, he can, since he is the head writer, can spin around a bit and say it takes place in another time and zone. Or spin it around a bit and say it takes place in another time and zone. However, some may not buy that and would still consider it canon. In other words, some fans wouldn't buy the whole, oh, it's actually this whole future thing's another timeline, another zone. Some will accept it, and there will be some that won't accept it and still consider it as canon. I think even, I put ever, but I should have put even. I think even the previous writer, who created the original story, that being Ken Penders, doesn't like the changes made. But in truth, there's nothing he or anyone else can do, except maybe for Sega and Archie Comics, upper echelon, about it. In other words, the only people that could probably do anything about it, like say, oh, it is canon, like, basically the only people that could do anything about it is those that approve the story. And if, let's say, the upper echelons at Sega and even Archie Comics say, oh yeah, it is canon, then that's the only way it'd be canon. But the question is, what do you think? In other words, what do you guys think about it? What do you think about Ian Flynn's take on this whole situation with Mobius years later? Do you think maybe he should at least consider it canon, or do you think maybe he should leave it the way it is? Again, I understand that there's a lot of fans, as I mentioned here, that that accept Ian's philosophy on it, his exception of it, as well as others. But then again, there are those that say, you know what? It's canon. It's got to be canon. And perhaps in the eyes of some, it is. But what do you think? Do you think Mobius years later, the whole story arc, 25 to 30 years later, do you think it should be canon, considered canon, or do you think maybe it should be considered as an alternate time in future? Alternate time and zone, I should say. I mean, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think, something should be straightened out finally to where we either know yay or nay? I mean, I know some people will say, well, Brian, we already got the answer about that. And that's true. Right now, we do have the answer. But what if somebody else came on board? Right? Let's say, for the sake of argument, Ian Flynn decides, I'm going to step down, and I'm going to do something else, and I'm going to hand over the reins of the comic to somebody else. What if this new person comes on board and says, and looks at Mobius years later and says, you know what? I consider it canon, so I'm going to go back to what the writer before Ian claimed it as and say it's canon. What if he says it is? What if a new writer comes on board and says it is? What are we going to do? How will you accept it? But, I'm just asking questions here. So tell me what you guys think. Do you agree with what I said here? It'll be in the description box. Hopefully the whole thing can fit, as well as the links to the areas where you can read it. So tell me what you guys think, and I'll talk to y'all later.